Today's video is another PUBG Xbox solo walkthrough. Do you guys find it hard to win on Vikendi? I did too, until I learnt more about the game and circle play on the Vikendi map. Vikendi is a hard map to master due to the slow circle closures, which result in player movements being less directed by the circle. This makes them pretty unpredictable in general, which makes it quite common to be snuck up on from behind in Vikendi. This walkthrough will help you guys to identify these differences and hopefully help you to play smarter and more strategically on the Vikendi map in PUBG. You can see that I started this match off at Mount Kresnik, and because I parachuted quite well and was able to get down early, I decided to drop pretty centrally in Mount Kresnik so I could hopefully find a gun and kill this one other player that was dropping with me early on. And to be honest, I didn't actually see this other guy drop here, and I noticed that he wasn't wearing a helmet. However, after I tagged him, I decided to play this pretty safe and use the frag to get the kill. I probably could have saved that frag and pushed out and killed this guy while he was weak, but I didn't want to risk it. There wasn't really any point to at this stage of the game. So I find a level 3 vest there and a Kar 98K together, and it's already looking like a pretty solid start to this game. Apparently I didn't really look very well to see if there were other people dropping with me, because I noticed this other player in the building. You can see here that I stop when I'm shooting, which definitely helps to control your recoil. So I'm able to tag him up there a bit through the window, but because he shoots at me with a Tommy gun, I decide not to push the building too aggressively. However, as I push around the corner here, the guy pretty much empties his entire magazine waiting for me to peek that doorway. So I decide to push in, and I definitely could have played this a lot smarter. In hindsight, I should have just rushed straight into that room there while he was reloading, but because I play a bit passively here, I get myself stuck in a bit of a sticky situation until he jumps out the window and makes himself an easy target for me. This probably goes without saying, but it's really important to stay mobile while you're looting to make sure that you're not an easy target for anyone who's lining you up. Also, do remember that pressing the right bumper and left bumper can skip columns when you're looting, and using the right trigger and left trigger helps to skip 5 items down the column at a time. Another little tip to keep in mind while you're looting is if you just need medical supplies and you need to loot quite quickly, the medical supplies are at the top of the list. So if you go to loot someone and just spam X a few times, you'll pick up all their meds. It's always good to reflect on the way that you play in PUBG and try and learn from your mistakes. And one thing that I could have done differently here is not to hold my breath while I was spraying at this guy. He was in a close enough range that I didn't have to hold my breath, and that does make it slightly more difficult to control your recoil. So this initial opponent that I'm fighting starts to shoot off in another direction, which alerts me to the fact that there's a guy just towards my north. So I did get pretty lucky here, he could have snuck up on me really easily. And when I'm in a one-on-one fight like this, I do try my best not to hard peek people. However, if you're confident that they don't have a sniper rifle or a one-shot kill weapon, then you can tend to be a little bit more complacent and try those hard peeks a bit more often if you need to. However, this guy here, not necessarily knowing that I had a Kar 98K, holds that long peek for too long and lets me line him up, so it ended up being a relatively easy kill. This one should go without saying, but always loot armor before weapons when you arrive at a care package.
Don't judge me.
I hear some shooting off to the north here, and while I'm waiting for them to push in, because the zone is coming in from that direction, I decide to loot this other guy that I killed earlier on. I think that something people do too often is feel like they have to loot their opponents instantly after they kill them. Whereas I tend to just keep a mental note of anyone that I've killed, and if there is anything that I need for loot, then I'll go back and check if they have it, but I don't feel obliged to go and loot every single person that I kill. I think some people get a little bit stuck on the fact that they own the loot of every single person they kill, and by changing this mind frame, you really get to be more unpredictable, and it lets you play the game more naturally, rather than your kills directing your next move. I noticed that for some reason I didn't actually get to loot all the AWM rounds, so I push back to the crate and then I hear some shooting back off to the north. But after hanging out for a bit, I can't actually see anyone pushing in, but I do hear this M24 shooting somewhere off to the northeast. And being the phase 1 zone, I've got plenty of time to push into the circle, so you can see me keeping a close eye out for this guy and trying to cut him off as he pushes towards the new zone. Then another snow bike pulls up somewhere off to my west, so I push towards him, and a bit of a test. Do you guys know what rifle this is he's shooting me with? Yep, you got it. That's an AK, and that's a long distance to be shooting the AK accurately, so I'm not really feeling too threatened by this dude. But you can see, because I have the AWM, there's no reason for me to get into a close quarter fight with him. So I keep my distance and try and get between him and the zone, so he has to push towards me. Unfortunately, I let him get away there, but I'm listening very closely to hear what happens with his snowbike. And just before he goes out of earshot, I hear his snowbike pull up at the compound, which gives me the impression that he actually wants to fight, so I'm going to be ready for him. You can see there that I hold that hard peek for quite a while, because I made the judgment that if he was shooting at me over a long range with an AK before, then he probably doesn't have a DMR or a sniper rifle. If he did have one of those weapons, I definitely would have been more careful, because although I have a level 3 helmet, having taken some damage from the zone still makes me a one-shot kill to the head. pushing in towards the zone, and I see this guy doing what looks like a loot dance here. And like I mentioned before, it's really important to stay moving when you're looting, and that pretty much saved this guy's life. But I end up pushing to this rock, and then I do a long cook on this frag, so it doesn't actually hit the floor before it explodes. When you do that, you really give your enemies no opportunity to bail at all. And I anticipate that the frag might have hurt my enemy to some extent, so I push up on him, stop on a dime, and get the kill. And then I use this gradual left and right waving movement to signify my appreciation for this guy's loot. And as you can see here, I don't mind sort of just hanging out in this area and waiting for my boosters to restore me to full health. Now some of you guys might recognize this next clip from my sniper tips video, and this opponent is actually a really solid player. By applying some textbook sniping strategy here though, I'm able to get the kill. You can see that I can't initially find where he's sniping from. So what I do is I pretend to retreat from the fight, and sure thing, as I'm pushing back, he's relocating and I catch a glimpse of him. You can then see that I do a quick scouting peek to really solidify my understanding of where he's peeking from. And finally, I line him up in the center of my sights before I aim down sight, which means that I'm able to get my sniper shot off before his. Now with the zone getting pretty small, I'm starting to take some mental notes of where my enemies are. I noticed this guy's name in the kill feed, who just won a fight off to my south. And because I noticed that that fight went on for quite a while, I can hazard a guess that that guy's injured and probably has pushed inside the building to heal. So that's the first place that I check out when I scope in. Then I start taking some shots from a DMR. And I can't seem to locate them straight away, so I decide to push back. This gives me an opportunity to check out players who might be coming in from the north side of the zone. So I decide to try and heal up in a pretty risky spot here, and it's no surprise that I almost die, and I'm pretty lucky to get away from this one, to be honest. As I mentioned before, it's very likely that there would have been players pushing in from that north side of zone, but luckily I'm able to get away and find a safer place to heal. So as I'm flanking around the top of zone here, I see this guy behind me, and more often than not, I really would like to take a shot at him, but it's just not a very good strategic play. I'm pretty much going to alert every remaining player as to where I am, and I'd make things very difficult for myself as I try to push into the next safe zone. So I'd take a guess here that this guy is trying to third person peek me from the corner of this house, and I chuck a frag in his direction. And when I have damaged armor, I'm always on the lookout for better armor, so you'll see me swapping over to a better vest at this crate. Now let me break this one down for you guys. The more that I play this game, the more that I notice subtle strategies that I use in gunfights. And what you can see me doing here is, when I'm caught off guard, I quickly take a sidestep to get out of my enemy's line of fire. In this situation at least, that proves to be enough to put his shots off, and I'm able to get that first kill without taking any damage. This proves to be very important because this next opponent pushes me quite quickly. And you can even see with this next opponent, I do the same thing and do a few little side steps to put him off. Now you can see here that I have prime position in regards to the wedge, but I don't want to get there too early because I need to be careful and watching out for players who are pushing towards that area. This reason, you'll see me pushing away from what you'd think would be the prime position, and then coming back to that spot as the zone closes. If you don't know much about the wedge, check out my enemy awareness video. I've linked it in the top right corner now. Again here you can see I apply a quick sidestep, which allows me to get to cover without being hit. And in the heat of this gunfight, I get the sense that my enemy is going to push back to the rock. So I decide to equip a frag very quickly. And this proves to be effective because I catch him off guard, as he probably thought he had another couple seconds before I could possibly throw a frag at him. And the last guy in this match is so wide out in the open that I don't even see him at first. And to be honest, I played this last kill pretty casually, and I probably could have died to this guy as I pushed out into the open. But I was able to connect with that Orm round, and that capped off a pretty solid 18 kill chicken dinner. So I hope you guys found this video kinda helpful in terms of how to play Vikendi strategically, and how the gameplay on this map really does differ compared to the other maps on PUBG. But anyway guys, thanks heaps for watching. Keep an eye out over the next couple days, because I reckon I might drop a little stream for you with a new Erangel patch. But until then, take it easy, and I'll see you next time.